Mishnah Ches. The Mishnah continues where we left off before about Bikurim which have now been separated. The Mishnah says, Hifrish Bikurov, if he separated his Bikurim, Nivzazu Nomaku Nignavu Ovdu Oshanitmu. What happened here was that the Bikurim which he set aside became damaged or went rotten in some way. Let's just do the cases. Nivzazu means they were stolen. Really, they were taken. They were stolen from him. Nomaku, that means that they were spoiled in some way. That they became very nomaku means wanted to melt or to rot. Nignavu, or they were stolen, or ovdu, or they were lost. Then the problem now we've got is that the Bikurim that he set aside have disappeared. What should he do? He can't bring the Bikurim he set aside because they're not there, or they're damaged, or they're lost, or stolen. Maybe acherim tachtehem ve'inokare. He has to replace them with new Bikurim, but there's no kriya. This is another example of bringing them and not making a kriya, because he can't say he's brought Rashis Pri, because the Rashis Pri was stolen or had disappeared. These are not the same ones, and therefore, although he has to bring fresh Bikurim, he cannot make the statement upon them. Now, it is interesting, because it could be that he could bring further Bikurim. A person is entitled to bring more Bikurim if one wants. So some say that the Mishnah actually doesn't say Hifrish Bikurim, it says Hifrish Bikurov, his Bikurim. And they learn that the Mishnah is talking where he had intended not to bring any more. This was the totality of his Bikurim. Since this was all the Bikurim he ever intended to bring, that would mean that any further Bikurim would be substitute, that would not be part of the original Bikurim. And that's what the Mishnah is talking about. However, had he decided he was going to bring further Bikurim later, as you can do, you can set aside your original Bikurim and you can add to them at a later stage. Had he intended to do that, then these Bikurim would be part of his Bikurim, and the fact that the original ones had been stolen, the further ones wouldn't be replacement, they would be additional, and he could still continue with the Bikurim and the Kriya as well. However, the Mishnah is talking about his Bikurov, the totality of his Bikurim was set aside, and therefore it would not be possible for him to do the Kriya. Now, but the second ones which he's produced, there's an interesting din here. Vashniim einam chayovim aleim chomish. There's a din that if you eat or truma or bikurim, or a zor eats a stranger, means a person who's not a kohen, if he eats them by accident, he has to replace these and pay a fifth on top. A fifth meaning a fifth milavar, that's like 25% in fact, because it's grossed up. That's the amount that you have to pay as compensation. And you have to replace the original Bikurim and add on the so-called Chomesh. But in this case, where these are replacement Bikurim, the Mishnah tells us you don't have to add the Chomesh, because they're not real Bikurim, they're only replacement Bikurim. And there's no halacha that you've got to add on the Chomesh on top of that. According to certain opinions, there are people who say this Mishnah is not l'halacha, that in fact you would have to do so. This Mishnah is a da'as yochid, but the Mishnah itself says you don't have to do that, because the Bikurim which are a replacement Bikurim are not proper Bikurim. They are just substitute Bikurim which don't have the full dinim of the original Bikurim. Therefore, the special dinim of Chomesh wouldn't apply to them. Nitmu ba'azora, if you'd got the Bikurim right up to the Beis Hamikdash and you'd brought them right there, and when they were taken into the Azor, they then became Tome, so therefore they're no longer any good. You might have thought that at that stage it's already, you've achieved what you've got to achieve, and there would be no problem. It says the Mishnah, Noifetz ve'eno kore. At that stage, you have to, Noifetz means sort of to shake them out. You don't have to bring replacement Bikurim, because once you've brought them to Arabayas, you're no longer Chayev Ba'achrayas, so therefore the Havor you've been Mekayim. But now when you come to say the Kriya, you can't do so, because the Kriya can only be done when you're in a Matzah of Simcha, and if you've lost all the fruit, or they've all become Tomei along the line, there's no longer any ability to do the Kriya, because you can't do it Mitoich HaSimcha. Some say that the Noifetz means you've got to throw the Tomei Bikurim away, but the Sal, the basket, you'll still give to the Kohen, and because the positive the Kohen should take the basket from you, which indicates that there can be a situation where the Kohen gets the basket alone with nothing in it. Now that can only be that is a situation where the Bikurim themselves are not feasible to be given. They become Tomei, they become worthless. The teneh is still available and they can be given. However, the Rambam disagrees with this and says no, in a situation the basket will also be given back to the owner and the Kohen would not even get the basket. That's a situation of Bikurim where things have gone slightly wrong. Either before you reach the Beis Hamikdash, in which case we said you have to replace them, and if once you've got to the Beis Hamikdash you don't have to replace them, but in none of these cases is it possible to do the Kuriya. So that fits in with the categories which the Mishnah has been talking about, of those cases of Mevi ve'eno Korei.